bottom line is that this course is going to close, and you have been exposed to a wealth of information ranging from CI/CD and coding and receiving code and building code to actually running it on AWS to Docker and Kubernetes, and then basically, summarizing in the capstone project, which is everything that you just delivered this morning, which was all amazing. What will happen from here is that after we close class today, what will happen is that around like 4 or 5 o'clock, I will confirm the final numbers for the billing, and I will send you out an email with pretty much everything that we're about to talk about, plus the billing summary, plus the link to the videos. So as the videos finish processing, you get a playlist. Now, just so you know, you may not get this email today. You might not even get it tomorrow. You will definitely get it by Monday at the latest. So just be patient. Things happen, things get delayed processing. It just doesn't always happen the way I want it to. But usually by Monday at the latest is when you would get an email. The other thing to note is that you will actually get a certificate of completion. Be patient. This can take up to 5 business days before you receive it. So just to say this, it could be next Friday before you get it, okay? Once you get it, obviously, that marks that you've completed the course. And of course, if you've paid and gotten a receipt from WebAge, you're going to need all that to submit to Booz, and you'll figure all that out, and your teammates can help you. The Basecamp stays up for quite a while, and then even when it goes into archive mode, it still shows up. So if you email or post something there, we'll get it. Hopefully at this point, you also know that you can email us directly at any point in time, which I know some of you have done. I've even had some of you call me directly. So you also have my phone number, right? Just know that we are typically in this business for the long run for reasons that go beyond money and compensation. So if you talk to us, we enjoy helping people, we will help you. And if you need a longer conversation, then just let us know, okay? Now, Brad beat me to it, but I was just about to do the same thing, is that if you happen to need to get a hold of me, you can actually hit me at my WebAge Solutions address, Michael Forrester, or you can hit me at my Gmail address. That's totally fine too. Either one, it all goes to the same place. Doesn't matter to me. Okay, gentlemen, anything to add before I move on to like ramp up guides and other pieces? No? Okay. Just to ask, because I didn't clarify this earlier, it's my mea culpa. Kevin, did you want to run through the post-training links?
Sure, yeah.
Would that be okay? Okay, yeah. And then I'll take over when you're done.
All right, thanks, thanks, Michael. Prior to class, these were links that were sent out to you individually, and I know some of you went through them because you pointed out that there was a couple of things that had changed. For instance, this computing network course is now changed. Unfortunately, it's not been updated on this sheet, but I did send a note to everybody, and that went into Basecamp as well. These are just some courses that we looked at as far as your access to Udemy, what you have available, what you can look into. So some of those were available pre-class, others available during the class. Maybe you looked at them, maybe you didn't, that's okay. The idea is that these resources are there, including the follow-up ones that you'll see at the end of the list here. Reminder that this is Booz Allen Hamilton's website. Simply go to bahudemy.com. At the very top, you can search for pretty much anything here. You'll see there's a lot of Stefan Merrick stuff here on mine because I actually teach the Kafka series for another client of WebAge. And we use a lot of materials by Stefan. I really like him. He's a French instructor from France, not French Canadian. Anyway, what you would do, of course, anything that you were interested in, you just come in here. So you'll see that cloud computing, data science. There's all kinds of material here. We're actually in the process. I have a call immediately after this class is done with Janet Wolf regarding setting up classes on Azure and Google Cloud in the same kind of data engineering framework that you've just gone through, because obviously Booz has recognized that there is an interest in that, and they have actually opportunities out there. So put in whatever you're looking for in the search terms. I brought up a couple of, this is the security one that I was mentioning. So a lot of you were struggling with, things like permissions. If you think that's bad, wait to get out into the real world, as they say, and then they throw a whole bunch more at you. So do keep that in mind. So that's why I put that in here. And you notice that it says around the software development life cycle. So I thought that was an appropriate course when we were reviewing things for this course that kind of made sense, because that's really what we've been talking about overall. So it does cover off a lot of great areas to be knowledgeable about. The second one is essentially the AWS certified course. There are lots of certifications out there. Michael took you through, I'm sure, a lot of them. I was a former certified instructor for AWS as well as Microsoft and for Google Cloud. I no longer do that just because my work is outside of that realm. But if your work is in any one of those areas, then there are certification programs that are available through this. And of course, WebAge offers courses in that area as well. And then the last one, which I thought I would just kind of poke a little fun at you about, not this one, where did it go? Oh, it's here. This is the IAM course. So this is an excellent piece of material that you should look at, and I will put that actually in the link momentarily. But basically, we've run this course a number of times, and each time, I see it. The main issue, whether it is on Azure or Google or here on AWS or some other platform, is really understanding security and how you turn services on and so on. So if you want to kind of review this, it's really, really good. It's a 4-hour course. Highly recommend that for you as well. And remember, all of these are available for you, right, to do on your own time. So keep that in mind, and you have absolute access to every piece of training material here. Some of them are sculpted, as I said, similar to our program that we're offering through the Tex Excellence to get you down a path and to provide you with those skill sets. So again, I'll put this last one up, but I did put the earlier link there. And other than that, I wish you all the best of luck with your careers. This is a huge starting point for some of you, maybe a midpoint in your career for others. This is, typical of what Booz Allen's looking for with the qualities of the folks that they bring on board. And thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. So let's dive into a few pieces of next steps here, and just checking in. Brad, was there anything that you wanted to talk about, or are we okay to go forward with the rest?
No, I don't think I have anything to add,
Okay.
other than it's been a real pleasure with everybody.
Good. All right. Okay, so just something that I've been asked about several times, and also heading off other questions from other people, is that, a lot of people are like, well, what do I do now? Well, like, what are my next steps? Probably helpful if I turn my camera on. So as you can see on the screen, since we just took an AWS centric kind of like pipeline, do note that I'm going to talk about this as, as an AWS focus, but like this could be Azure, this could be Google. Understand that cloud is becoming pretty, in a sense, flexible pretty quickly. I think is probably one of the best ways to say it. And so you don't know nowadays who you're going to encounter. I would say that Booz Allen is very much wed to AWS, but Booz Allen also has Azure and Booz Allen also has Google. So, just at some point in time, know that while you don't need to be an expert in all three, it's probably going to behoove you to at least to know a little bit about all of them, and maybe spend a lot of time on the one that's in front of you at this particular point in time. So just keep that in mind. One good thing also is that they are all remarkably similar in how they function. They just have very specific implementation details. But just to say this, in general, like you ever heard the phrase, the devil's in the details? It's always in the details. And so everything looks the same until you start getting down into the lower levels. So just keep that in mind. Now, all of that preamble being said, this is the certification stack for AWS on your screen right now, right? So what this means is that technically you have taken the course that is associated with SysOps Administrator. That's the course that you took, System Operations on AWS. Now, don't read into that you are now ready to take the exam, because AWS doesn't say this enough, but taking the class that's associated with the course does not prepare you to take the exam. It gets you about 60 to 80% there. And if you're lucky, in most cases, it gets you about halfway there, right? For most people. But here's the cool thing. See this Cloud Practitioner course down here? With a little bit of study, a little bit of practice exams, you're actually ready for that course. Not only did you take the official curriculum, but you went over and above with the associates level class, the Systems Operations on AWS, which form the core of this. So with a few practice exam, like a few weeks of practice exam runs, you would be ready to take Cloud Practitioner within like a week or two, maybe 3 if you needed it. The SysOps course, I'm going to, excuse me, give you a specific ramp up guide that you can follow that was actually written by AWS and a bunch of the ATPs to contribute. So I just want you to see this, because there is actually further to go in terms of official certification level learning. But know that right now we've covered the black hexagon, and now we're covering the middle blue hexagon as far as your certification path. Okay. These 2 tests in particular, the first one, the Cloud Practitioner, just so you're aware, is a 90-minute 65 question multiple choice or multiple right choice, like multiple right response test. So this one is kind of a trivia exam, which is great. I'm not minimizing it, but it basically is testing whether or not you know the AWS services. The SysOps Administrator exam is changing quite a bit, in the sense of that right now, it's a 65 question scoring opportunity trivia exam, and it has a lab portion. So the exam has changed a little bit in that this is the first of the exams that Amazon is including labs in. So just know that if you go to take this exam, you're going to want to take the practice labs to make sure that you're familiar with how to do things either in the console or the command line. Now, you might be saying, Michael, wow, hands-on. Just be lucky it's not the certified Kubernetes exam, because that one's 100% hands-on, and you get 3 chances to get those questions right, or you fail completely, like for that question, right? So just know that this is actually easier than some of the tougher exams out there. So SysOps Administrator Associate and Cloud Practitioner are the 2 certifications that you have enough information to actually go after at this point in time. Any questions about anything else here around certification for AWS? Okay.
I do know some people have scheduled that. So I would highly recommend that you do the review courses and so on. If you are planning on doing that in the short little while, there's lots of them available through Udemy and so on.
And so great thing here is that we have been running for a lot of companies. We've been running specifically Cloud Practitioner courses that run 4 to 6 weeks for people who know nothing, right? And haven't actually been through the class, whereas you guys actually have been through the class. And right now our pass rate is for first time pass is over 90%. So, so just know that usually one of the things that we recommend is that if you're ever looking for a step-by-step guide to actually pass a particular exam with AWS, do note the AWS. And by the way, you're going to get all this in email. So, don't worry about like, oh my God, do I need to capture all of this? The other thing is I'm actually going to post all this into chat as well, right? So let's say we wanted to download the guide for Cloud Practitioner and we wanted to take a look at it. Do note that this is a little bit of overkill for most people, right? It can be overkill, but Amazon has a step-by-step guide for those who are really just ramping up for the first time to like go through all of these web pages and videos. And most of it doesn't take a whole lot of time actually. So even if you've taken the course before, if you're looking for a really great refresher, this is comprehensive. This is solid. If you step through all of this, even if you never took a course before, you would be prepared to take the exam with one addition, which I'm going to show you what that addition is. But these ramp up guides are available on AWS's website. You can just Google AWS ramp up guides, literally grab the Cloud Practitioner, go through each of these as stated. In addition, because obviously you've already taken the digital training with us. In addition, there are labs down here as well, self-paced labs that are remarkably similar to the labs that you did earlier, right, with AWS. In addition, because you now have better context, having struggled with these services, even if you end up doing the exact same labs that you did before, they're going to be 10 times as meaningful, because all of a sudden it's going to make sense to you. Remember my whole story about the plant where the guy's like, hey, see these like heart-shaped leaves, see this whole thing? What is this? And it's like, oh, it's lavender. And he's like, no, it's Prunella vulgaris. It's heal all. Remember that whole story that I told you? So remember that you're on your third or fourth look at some of these services. And if it's not sticking, it's okay. You just did a major project. You just delivered some value. You got a different context on it. So these ramp up guides are probably going to re-expose you to some of the same material. And this time it's going to stick, right? It's going to stick a little bit more. And if you saw this again, it's going to stick a little bit more. I was literally running through cloud practitioner questions yesterday with a group, and there were 2 or 3 of them that I got completely wrong, which I'm usually very forthright about, right? And I was like, I learned some stuff because even though it was probably the 10th or 20th time I'd seen the material, there was just some stuff that just doesn't stick, right? Just doesn't do it. So these ramp up guides are gold for you. Here's the only thing I don't recommend when it comes to the ramp up guides is see these sample questions down here under learning resource. I got better questions for you. It'll cost you about 15 bucks at most. Okay. Otherwise, these ramp up guides I would follow from end to end, right? Because they're really good. Now, that being said, here's my alternative suggestion for practice exams that thus far, if people have followed instructions, every single person who's taken the exam for the first time that I've trained has passed the first time they've taken it. And it's going to sound like overkill. And just believe me, it's going to work. So this is Tutorials Dojo. This is by a gentleman named John Bonso, whose name I'm going to type in the chat. John is also on Udemy. John has an eidetic memory, which means that even if he doesn't speak the language, if he sees a printout of the language, he has it memorized. And if he later learns the language or writes everything down, he can literally go back and translate what he saw in his head, which is pretty cool. John also works with AWS to make sure that he doesn't get sued because he can remember every single exam question in its entirety, which is pretty good, actually. John not only has a bunch of stuff out here, including Azure and Google, which is really good stuff as well, but he also has AWS practice exams. Let me give you a sample for just a minute. So let's say, oh, thankfully I'm logged in. Let's say we're out here and I said to you, hey, before you actually take any of the cloud practitioner exams or system administrator exams, I said to you, you know what? I'd really love for you to take 2 or 3 of what's called the review mode exams. And I want you to take one of them until you can get 90 or 95s on the material. And then I want you to do a second one until you can get 90 or 95s on the material. And then I want you to take a third one at most until you can get 90 or 95s on the material. And then I want you to go take the exam. And you might say to me, but Michael, isn't that just memorizing the answers? Let's be clear about what we're memorizing here. The answers to questions about AWS services. So yes, you're memorizing the answers, but let me show you the other great thing about these practice exams. If we click into this and you actually are just focused on review mode set 1, what happens is that you're going to get a set of 65 random questions that are going to span all of the topics that this exam covers. And let's say we choose question number 35. And it says, which of the following tools allows you to track your reserved instance usage and view the discounted rate that was assigned to your resources, right? And let's say that I'm like, I don't know. Doesn't seem like it would be budgets. It's not systems manager. Could be cost explorer, but it's actually probably the cost and usage report. But I could be making that up. So let's just see what they say, right? Oh, guess what? That's the right answer. I'm just kind of messing with you. The point here is that not only is John going to give you the correct answer, he's going to tell you why the other answers are wrong, and you're going to learn that as well. So that way, before you even see the answers to the question, you're going to know. Why? Because you're going to be sitting in a meeting and someone's going to say, how do we do forecasting for our AWS spend based on our historical usage? And you're going to be like, oh, I remember that from the practice exam. It's Cost Explorer. Because that's what Cost Explorer does, is it does forecasting if it has historical usage data, right? So these practice exams are not only going to give you the right answer and wrong answer, they're going to give you the source from the official AWS documentation. And then if he has a cheat sheet for it, because you keep getting these questions wrong on billing, you're going to click on this And you're probably going to like skim the cheat sheet until you get the high level stuff down. So you stop getting those questions wrong. Because that's the cool thing about it also is he's going to tell you where you're weak. We want to know where we're weak because we want to get stronger there, right? So this is Tutorials Dojo. You can also buy these off of Udemy as well. Just look for John Bonso. I put his name in chat, right? But I'm going to put this link for Tutorials Dojo. These at most cost $15. And John has the same bug that Udemy does. So about every like 2 weeks, he runs a sale, which is weird and is exactly what happens on Udemy. If I ever see something full price on Udemy, I swear I just wait 2 or 3 weeks. And the next thing you know, it's like $10 or something. So, you know, just take that for what it's worth. By the way, once you buy one of these, either on Udemy or on Tutorials Dojo, he updates it indefinitely. I have exams on Udemy that I bought 3 years ago, and he keeps updating them, which is cool and a little weird because I only paid $12 for them, and he's still updating them. Go figure. So let me rehash that for you. 1, you are now qualified to take Cloud Practitioner, and you're qualified to take System Operations Associates if you do some study. If you decide to take Cloud Practitioner, the first thing you're going to do is come over here and buy the Cloud Practitioner practice exams, and you're going to take 2 of those exams one at a time until you can get 90% on one and 90% on other. And then you're going to go sign up for the exam and go take it, and you're going to pass it, and you're going to email us on Basecamp, and we'll celebrate with you that you passed Cloud Practitioner. If you decide that you want to do System Operations Associates, well, you're going to do something slightly different. You're going to come over here and grab the ramp up guide for operations. You're going to look at that ramp up guide, and you're going to start at the beginning, and you're going to make sure that you go through every piece of this just to make sure all your bases are covered, because you have to have a year of experience to pass the System Operations exam, and you don't have that. But if you want to get equivalent experience, then come here and actually do what's in the ramp up guide, and you'll get it. Once you've done what's in the ramp up guide, you're then going to come over here to Tutorials Dojo, and you're going to buy the practice exam for the SysOps Administrator Associates. Then guess what? You're going to take 2, maybe 3 tests, take them one at a time until you get 90 or 95%. And then you're going to go schedule the exam. That's it. So that's the path to get those certifications if you're looking for them. For Cloud Practitioner, all you need to do is take the practice exams. For SysOps Associate, you're going to do the ramp up guide. Then you're going to take the practice exams. In both cases, you're pretty close to done when it comes to being ready for the exam. Okay. Questions about anything around that are related to AWS?
This is Sarah. Just in your opinion, do you think that it would be better to have the Cloud Practitioner, and then if you still wanted to get the, like, even if you want the SysOps and you know you want to do that, would there be any benefit to getting the Cloud Practitioner beforehand? Or would you say, like, I'm just wondering from being in the industry professional, like, would that look better, or would it be fine to just take longer and study and get the SysOps?
Well, I'll tell you, since a lot of the material overlaps, like probably 50 to 60% of it, I would say that it wouldn't hurt you. But here's the other thing. If you take Cloud Practitioner, it'll build your confidence and comfort for taking the exam. And it is kind of impressive when you see somebody who has all 4 exams at the associates and the Cloud Practitioner level. Here's also the cool thing. Every time you take an exam at the associates level and you already have Cloud Practitioner, it recertifies, it renews the exam, which is kind of fun. I actually had to retake the Solutions Architect Pro recently, and it recertified all of my exams that I had prior, which is honestly not something I had seen because it'd been a couple years since I'd taken them. So I would say that's very much worth it from building your confidence and just from like just having expertise and experience.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Do note, by the way, that if you're like Michael, I don't care about that. I'm a data scientist.
I have a question.
Oh, hold on, Harwinder. Just 1 second. Just give me just 1 second. I definitely want to hear your question. I just want to remind you that there's sections here for machine learning, data analytics. If you're a database administrator, here's your stuff. So just know that there's not just ramp up guides by role. There's ramp up guides by technology. Okay, Harwinder, go.
So I just want to make sure that I heard you clearly. Like you said, if we don't have 1 year experience and we want to go with for SysOps and we take ramp up guide, then we are okay to take our SysOps exam?
Exactly. As long as you do the ramp up guide.
Okay, okay,
But I want you to be forewarned, the ramp up guide is no joke. It will
Okay.
require somewhere between 5 and 10 hours a week of study, depending on how fast you want to go.
okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because just so you know, AWS does recommend that people have 2 years experience for pro, 1 year experience for associate, and 6 months for foundational knowledge. It's not necessary if you're willing to bust it on the labs. Okay. So just so you're aware. Oh, that's a good point, actually, Kevin. I like that you posted that. Also know, by the way, Sarah, there's one other benefit. If you take Cloud Practitioner, they give you a 50% discount coupon for like 4 exams when you take Cloud Practitioner. So if you want to take the next like set of exams, they give you a 50% discount. So a $150 exam goes to 75, a 300 exam goes to 150, et cetera. So you get
Good
the
to
math.
know. Good
Yeah.
to know. Thanks for sharing, Kevin.
Yeah, so that $100 exam that you take at the beginning is actually probably worth a couple $100 when it comes to taking the exams later on. So, okay. So we talked about the ramp up guides. By the way, John over here on his little tutorial dojo does indeed actually have pretty much all of the AWS exams. I want to say he was missing one. Machine learning, database analytics. No, looks like it's good. Oh, that's right. Alexa's been retired, right? Security, advanced networking, database.
Kubernetes?
Wait, is there now a Kubernetes certification? Hold on. No. Is there one? I haven't
No,
seen
it's
one.
part of the DevOps, isn't it now? I thought they changed that. I may be wrong. Hang on.
I saw that they got rid of Alexa and they got rid of big data, but I hadn't seen anything since. So I think that's it. Do you know, by the way, containers are listed here. So if you want a ramp up guide for how to run containers on AWS, this is here. Also consider this your go-to resource. If someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to do IoT, and you're like, I don't know anything about IoT. Well, guess what? There's a guide right here. So go kick the tires on it. You're going to run into projects where people are specializing in interesting things that you don't know anything about. Just know that these ramp up guides could help you with that, especially as it relates to AWS as well. Okay. Any questions about any of this related to certification?
Just to double check, you said John's classes were Tutorials Dojo or Udemy?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we go to Udemy and we'll search for John. I think I've got more here actually than I do over at his other site. Yeah, so this is John's exams. Notice they're like $10 here. Just so you know, the ones at Tutorials Dojo have a little bit extra stuff. Same content. Also, I will forewarn you, Udemy has a better offline and mobile app than John's website does. He's still working on his stuff. Udemy will work offline on your phone. John's website won't. So just something to be, if you feel like you're going to do a lot on your phone, you probably just want to buy the Udemy version. Just FYI.
Okay.
Yeah, that's little caveats that you run into. But yeah, this is where he's at. So you can find John out there in his profile. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Other things to think about. Okay. So this is awesome AWS workshops, which honestly is a little small. So let me blow that up. Now, here's the funny thing. The guy who runs this has deprecated this website, and I have been trying to convince him to just open it back up. I'm about to take this thing over, honestly, because it is still the best website for finding AWS workshops that I've ever seen. And it's way better than the www.workshops.aws that he's pointing to here. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. So this is workshops.aws, where Amazon has started to try and consolidate a bunch of stuff, which is actually pretty cool, but they're not complete by far. I'm going to put this link out there for you as well. Actually, I'll put both just so you can have them right away, but there'll be an email, right? Awesome AWS Workshops is maintained by this gentleman. And what he did is he found all of the free workshops that AWS has ever published that he was aware of. There's actually a few more that he's not. And so let's say that someone says, I want to do something with containers. First of all, there's probably about like, I don't even know, 30 hours worth of workshops just right here under containers alone. But if you're like, hey, I don't really know anything about ECS and Fargate, you just click on it And then basically it'll either show you architecture patterns, or it will take you to the ECS workshop, ecsworkshop.com, and allow you to use your own personal account to run through these workshops. Now, I have run through most of these. They cost you less than $1 a piece to run from end to end. If you leave something running and you walk away for 3 days, it's going to cost you more than $1. So don't come complain to me, because I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, but I just told you not to walk away from the lab in the middle of a step. Okay, don't do it. Because the next thing you know, you're going to spend $20 and be like, Michael, you just took away my margaritas. And I will cry with you because I like margaritas, but I don't drink them very often. All right, so just know that ECS workshop, EKS workshop, there's a ton of them out here. But this website, Awesome AWS Workshops, contains a bunch of cool stuff. Some of you, I was throwing around event-driven architecture. Here's some event-driven architecture. You want a little bit more infrastructure as code? Guess what? Here's the CDK workshop. Kevin and I were just talking about that a few days ago because he actually has his own workshop. But like, if you want to know how to do like basically CloudFormation with your favorite language, which is basically what that is, then you can come up here and kick the tires on it. They even added Java recently. That's how serious they are. Just kidding. That's how serious they are. They were serious. They put Erlang up there. Anyway, moving on. So keep this in your back pocket because there's a bunch of categories here. So if you need to learn more about migration, you need to know more about networking, you need to know more about security, right? There's amazing workshops here. Now, not all of these are maintained to the same level. So I can't guarantee that every one of these works 100% because I haven't been through every one. But I got to tell you, if it has a recent update on it, I promise you it works. So for example, some of you might want to learn more about Kubernetes. If we go to eksworkshop.com, right? And we can tell that someone's like actually updated this thing to 2021. Guess what that means? This workshop works, right?
And Michael should mention that there's 3 levels typically to these. So there's a beginner level for everyone. There's an intermediate level, and then there's an advanced level. And that goes with container services. That goes with Kubernetes. Most of the services that AWS offers. So if you only want to get the basics, right, just do the beginner one. But if you really want to understand it, you can work your way through everything. And then it might cost you $10.
Right. Well, maybe. I don't know. Even the Monte Carlo simulation didn't cost that much, actually. Well, hold on. My brain's having a moment here. Yeah, there it is. Well architected labs. All right. Also know that if you're going to move more into the architecture side of things, although honestly, if you're in security or whatever, it's all applicable. Just know that there are the well architected labs here as well. These things are ridiculously shallow and deep. So notice, like to Kevin's point, there's a shallow 100, then there's intermediate, and then there's advanced. So don't feel like you got to come in here and boil the ocean, right? Do the things that are relevant for either the project that you're working on or the local infrastructure that you're trying to build, okay? And also don't get overwhelmed by the fact that there's just so many of these on this, sorry, let me come back here. So many on this list. Just keep in mind the ones that are going to be most relevant for your role. If you're working with CI/CD, then focus on these. Most of us aren't doing end user computing, by the way, so maybe just put that aside. But my point being is that keep this in your back pocket, study it as you need it. The one thing that's going to differentiate your career the most in tech is going to be communication. The second most important thing that's going to differentiate your career in tech is focusing on one thing at a time. If you're going after the cloud practitioner certification, finish it. If you're going after the systems operations associates, finish it. If you're working on AWS and you're working with containers, focus on ECS or EKS for containers. If all of a sudden you pivot over to databases, then master databases. And by the way, when I say master, you might just go to the beginner level. You might not go to the intermediate or master level because you don't need to, right? So just go as far as you need to get your project done and to your interest level. Because the other thing that really makes this work is if you focus and you chase your passions. If you really love containers, then you should probably go all into containers. If you're like, I don't really like technology, I really love people, but I like being in technology, then you should probably strengthen your communication skills. So just know that there's this little dance that happens where You want to communicate really well. You want to focus and finish the things that are important to you and relevant for your projects. You also want to be passionate, because this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to feel like a sprint, but it's actually a marathon. So if you don't do what you love, you're going to find yourself in a 30-year career that you absolutely hate. And the next thing you know, you're going to be like my buddy Chris, who quit and became a massage therapist. And he's 10 times happier now than he was when he was in technology, which is fine, right? Still bitter about tech though. Okay, so we've covered certifications. We've given you some resources around training and whatnot. The only other thing I will say is that please make a habit of keeping up with trends. I don't need you to follow the trends. I don't need you to chase every shiny little guppy that hops into the water with you. Guppy's a fish, by the way. I don't need you to chase everyone that hops in the water with you, but I need you to know what's happening around you, right? I need you to find some mechanism to stay connected with what's going on in the industry, even if you're not chasing every shiny little thing, because you're focusing on databases right now. But if all of a sudden people are starting to talk about Snowflake, which apparently is a pretty popular database technology, you should, and you're working in databases, you should probably go learn about Snowflake. I'm just saying, right? Now, there's a couple of things that can help with this. One, I just want to mention that anything the CNCF is involved in is probably going to be pretty popular, right? How do we know? Well, see Kubernetes over here, see the etcd, see Envoy, which makes up the core. Like, just so you know, while not everything here is something relevant that you need to chase, if you're like, hey, I wonder if I should go after Kubernetes, if the CNCF is doing it, it's probably going to be pretty popular, right? Other things as far as keeping up would be things like Medium, right? What are people writing articles about? What are people touting, right? You can even go old school if you want and go take a look at Hacker News, right? Hey, what are these guys like posting about? What's got the most up views? What's got the most like links? There's also other things like the AWS blog, which will allow you to keep up with like things that AWS is doing. Azure has one, so does Google, right? Every day, you should be spending about 10 or 15 minutes just checking the pulse of the nation to see what's going on out there in the world, right? You pick your format for that, okay? Word of caution, remember number 2, if you do not focus on something, you're going to get super diluted. You're going to be chasing every shiny thing and you're not going to build any skills. So remember that even though you're going to read about this stuff, you're not necessarily going to go chase every single thing that you see, okay? All right. Any other questions about why I would tell you this and about resources and about how to stay up to date or any of those other pieces? Okay, well, you've got this recording in case you need to see it again. All right, let's see, let me just check my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, oh, yes, I knew I forgot something. So the other thing to mention is that if you are not either audio booking or like reading on a semi-regular basis, I'm just going to forewarn you, you are in the most information expansive industry in the world. Just trust me on that. So what this means is that not only are you going to be building skills, but you also want to build mindset. So let me offer a few thoughts here that might be like extremely useful around this. So if you're going to stay in the infrastructure space, one thing I could highly recommend to you is read the Phoenix Project, right? The Phoenix Project, by the way, is a novel about IT. It's actually, oddly enough, it came out in 2012. So it's almost 10 years old. But everybody who reads it typically says, how does this guy know what's going on in my daily IT life? Because it's actually pretty relevant. And then once you read the Phoenix Project, you're going to go read the Unicorn Project. The Unicorn Project is the sequel, which was actually written 2 years ago. And that's the audio book, but you get the idea. And while the Phoenix Project is told from an operations perspective, the Unicorn Project is told from a developer's perspective, which is really nice, actually. Bring in DevOps, right? Cats and dogs and goats and lions, because we're all doing DevSec ML ops now anyway. We're bringing it all together, okay? Now, once you get done with that, there are a bevy of books, other books that you could read. I don't know why I want to put it celebrate, but like basically anything by this lady, Nicole Fosgren, Jez Humble, or one of my other favorites, Gene Kim, who basically spends all of his time figuring out how high performing organizations function, any of those people are going to be absolutely spectacular. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. If I got Kevin and Brad up here and said, hey, what are your favorite software development books? You probably see a bunch of other authors listed here. But bottom line, whoever it is that you choose to follow, find somebody who's doing the kind of work that you admire and that you aspire to do. Find out if they're writing books or if they have authors they follow. And you want to probably spend some time reading books like once a month, one book every 2 months, one every 3 months, get some audiobooks, digest those things, because you're going to continue to grow your skills and you want to support that with the right mindset. Brad, Kevin, anything to add to that?
No, Brad had to drop out. He's got internet issues, but no, I'm good, Michael. That was great.
Okay, good. Oh yeah, Gene Kim has a podcast called the Ideal Cast, by the way. These guys are all on Twitter, you know. Okay. Cool. All right, well, that's it. That's the last thing that I had. I didn't have anything else to talk about. I've got nothing else to cover. Nothing else to throw your way, or, you know, no other expositions or exhortations to throw at you, other than I did not see a single person here who was not capable of having an absolute stellar career in IT. You all have the right mindset. You've got the right approach. Some of you have more skills than others, but all of you have the right potential to be here in IT. And so just know that if I saw a red flag or something that I thought I was really concerned about with people, either because of capability, lack of motivation, or some variation, I would have talked to you directly and you would have heard directly from us. Okay. We didn't see any of that, right? All I saw was a bunch of interested souls. Some of you were overwhelmed with your lives. That's okay. You still showed up anyway and did the work. So the last thing I have to say is that I really want you to go forth and prosper. We'll be here, but technically I have nothing else to add. And so the floor is completely open to anything anybody wants to share, say, or do before we have that last uncomfortable moment where I say, this is it, and I'll see you in the next class. Floor is open.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Appreciate everything. Lifetime resource.
Hey, you'd be surprised. I still talk to people from 20 years ago, right, that took classes with me.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'll just say
I
I echo everybody. It's been really nice with all the instructors, and then also I was just going to echo what Joseph Gooden said in the chat, that I really liked everybody's presentations and super happy with everybody's development, including my own.
Yeah, I really want to thank my fellow students. You guys are, I felt like I learned a lot from everybody here.
Good. Okay,
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
absolutely. Our pleasure. No, Dominic, no boiling the ocean. No, one little pond at a time. That's what we want. But I get you. I know you were joking. All right, everyone. Well, then we're done. We're absolutely done. Go forth. I hope that you have a very light day tomorrow. Relax, chill, pick it up next week. If you have any concerns or any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, you'll get an email from me Monday at the latest. And just know, again, reach out to us if you need anything. Otherwise, it's been awesome. And I wish you all the absolute best in your careers. And hopefully we'll see you in the next class. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, I just get my AC back. So perfect. Now I can stop sweating while on camera.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Kevin, I'll send out a sheet with all the stuff that we talked about for the
Yeah, perfect.
analysis and whatnot. So
That'd be great. Yeah.
We'll go from there.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate all your assistance on this one and all the knowledge that you bring. That's for sure. It's interesting when we have that many students together and everything seemed to run fairly well, which is unusual.
I agree. And you know what the best part was for me? Talking to you two is tons of fun. It really is. I really appreciate the experience and the depth and just kind of like that was one of the best parts of me was having long conversations with the two of you in between sessions. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
well, it's nice to have fun on these too, which you don't take it as serious that way. It's makes it seem like it goes a lot faster too. So yeah, appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to shut it down then, sir. I'll see you next time.
All right. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
I'll let you know how the Azure one goes. We're discussing that at 3.
Please let me know how that rolls out. And I do actually know Azure, so I'll be glad to support it if you ever need any help.
I just hope they don't want all the MCT stuff because that's going to be a mess if they do.
Yeah, me too. I think it's gonna be a mess.
Anyway, we'll see. Depends
All
on
right,
how they
sir.
want to do the certification stuff. Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Right.